Hey, this is Matt from The Matches.
And I'm Sean from The Matches. You're watching Under the Gun. The first record that we made, we ended up licensing to Epitaph Records. So Matt found out, heard a little whisper through the grapevine that was going to happen. They don't just call you up and be like, here's your record back. But he remembered, because he's a political scientist,
Remember the details
and chased it up and found out that the record would indeed be ours again this year. So we got breakfast together, the 4 original members of the band, and decided that we would enjoy having Yvonne Dahl Kill the Locals on vinyl, which is something we never got to do back in the day, and we always wanted to. And now we have places to put vinyl, now that we have houses and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was the original plan.
Yeah, that was really the plan. And then we were like, hey, maybe we could do a show to celebrate it and see some of our Bay Area friends and have an excuse to have a little party. And then
we were like, well, if we put the vinyls online, nobody will hear about it. So let's just do one show.
Yeah. And we were like, maybe we can sell some of the vinyls at the show because we won't have sold them in time.
Yeah.
And then that one show turned into 9 shows in the U.S. and the first 500 vinyls sold out immediately. We had to do a second pressing, so it turned into a whole thing we weren't expecting. Honestly, we weren't expecting it. When the first show in San Francisco sold it right away, I think we were texting. We're like, well, first of all, this is awesome. Second of all, crap, we don't have enough tickets for our friends and family to get in. What are we gonna do? And then we're like, okay, let's do another show. And then it went from there. That sold out right away. And they're like, all right, we'll do a third show. And then they had the idea of well, all these people from all over the country and the world started messaging us on Facebook and come to my city. And so
moreover, we were also getting messages from people that were like, hey, I'm flying from Brisbane. I'm flying
far
from
away. Japan,
Birmingham,
England,
Bristol,
and all over the country. People from Canada were hitting us up, and so we're like, maybe we could do some more shows regionally, so that people don't have to necessarily fly to California to see us. Maybe we'll be a little bit closer to people. So that's kind of how it turned into doing 4 different cities.
Yeah, it's not really a full tour. We just sort of picked a couple hubs.
Yeah, and stationed ourselves there for a weekend, and hope people would make the trip, and a lot of people did. So.
Yeah.
It's been cool.
Yeah, there are people all over the world at all of these shows. I feel like we this is not true. This is just my perception, but I feel like we sort of, along with a few other bands that in the scene that we used to play with, I feel like we sort of closed the door on our wave of punk music. Is how it felt to us. It felt like there were bedroom recordings and just new technology and just new things happening, and what we were doing didn't feel as fresh, which was one of the reasons that, coupled with Justin leaving the band, it was we had to walk away from being in a punk band together because we weren't punks anymore, and we weren't it didn't feel like we were part of an organic wave that was as vibrant. And so discovering that the wave that we were part of is now kind of washing back onto the shore, and people are missing something about the kind of era of music that we were doing, and the Matches music specifically as well, it feels exciting again. It's really cool, I mean, my favorite bands that I've seen, I go and see Tame Impala every time they're in the States. Brilliant band, but there's not the energy and the chemistry between the band and the crowd the same way as there is at these kind of shows we've been playing at a punk rock show with fans that are just basically just this cult in front of you. There's a different kind of energy, and I think everyone missed that. Everyone was ready for a new wave of music, but everybody missed that, and it's really apparent now doing these shows. It's been a really positive learning experience, and we're honored and humbled to be part of it. Yeah,
absolutely. Playing a sold out show in New York City is something we'd never done before, on our own, you know, up with our own crowd. So to be able to do it all these years later is really, really cool. The crowd was amazing.
It's also really special because, we like fully acknowledge it. It's a New York City show, and has all the magic of being in, you know, one of the oldest cities in the U.S. and like one of like the most like rock and roll rich cities.
Yeah.
But then it's also, there are people from all over the world coming here and experiencing the same thing with us. There are people all over the East Coast. You know, there's like probably 150 people here from Massachusetts.
I know,
you know what I
seriously.
mean? Like, it's really cool. We're basically having a very similar experience to that which all of the crowd is having, and so it sort of feels like everyone's on vacation, like with wide eyes and just like, you know. I'm glad that to kind of go back to one of your previous questions, I'm glad that we didn't book like a full tour, for the reason that it's still, like last night when we walked out on stage at the Gramercy, I was still floored.
Yeah, it feels like fresh every night.
A fresh feeling.
Yeah.
Like when you do, you know, 30 shows like that, it's still neat, but it's, you know, it starts to like go to your head, or you start to expect it. Oh, they're going to cheer and not let us start our first song for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you know what I mean? Like, if you're expecting that, it's not as
special.
It's not as special. Yeah. And so these shows are really special for us, and I'm really glad that, you know, I'm really glad that we're doing this run the way we are, because to us it's really important to like be sharing this experience with the audience, you know.
So have you had a chance to interact with any of the fans of these shows?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we're out before and after. We were talking like in Chicago the other night. There's like a line for merch from the time doors opened till we went on, and I felt like we were like in a receiving line because we were out like, and it was just like you couldn't walk more than 5 feet because it's all these familiar faces.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I knew all 700 people there somehow, or recognized all of them, and everyone was like talking to each other, catching up on what they've been up to. Like,
yeah, it's great.
It's cool. So we've been talking to as many people as we possibly can.
I'm really impressed with our fans as adults too. Like they're really interesting. I feel like
everyone's growing up and is doing cool stuff.
Yeah, it's great. You know, it's really neat. Like I recognize some people's faces from when they were like 16 years old and like just so stoked to be coming to the shows. But speaking to a 16-year-old is different than like having a beer with someone that's like in the same age group as you now. You know what I mean? Like when we were in our 20s and there were young fans, like it was cool to see them relating to our music because it was music we had written at their age, but there was a disconnect socially. And now the social disconnect is gone. I feel like we're just amongst so many friends. The first record has so many great stories because we were so scrappy and we were a high school garage band, like navigating how to become a real band. And I think that those stories are now, like, we look back at them kind of fonder.
Yeah, absolutely.
There were a lot of embarrassing things that happened back then if you watch any of those videos that we didn't want anybody to know about because it was so, like, not punk to like, have, like...
Like your mom saying the F word.
Yeah. And just stuff like that, you know what I mean? It's fun to look back. Yeah.
We can all laugh about it now.
Yeah. Australia will be a really interesting thing because the States, we always had this kind of cultish DIY aesthetic, and pretty much everything every tour we booked and everything we did was like really DIY. We were never like a radio band over here, you know? And Australia was different in that we were like got heavy radio play.
Yeah, like over there it was like radio.
We actually had singles
and media.
And
like
stuff.
Sean was on the cover of magazines and stuff.
Yeah.
That was like a totally different experience of getting recognition, getting your name out there, and it worked really well for us over there.
It was like we got to like take these two different countries and just see what it would be like to be like a big mainstream band in one country and then to be like an underground DIY band in another, which was always interesting for us. And so it'll be fun to go back and see what a 10-year reunion looks like when you're like Third Eye Blind instead of the matches. You know. We've been having a great time together. Everything up until this point has really been dictated by the overwhelming demand for these shows, you know what I mean? you know, a lot of people have been asking us, will you be doing vinyl for Decomposer? Will you be writing new stuff? Like, we're really taking it day by day. But it's been awesome playing with you again.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we're playing the shows and we'll take it from there. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But once again, I'm Matt from the Matches.
And I'm Sean, and thanks for watching Under the Gun TV.